Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central. Shield.com. Your favorite go-to spot in car podcasting and live streaming. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Just ahead, Patrick Olson, Carfax. We talk about the used car market. We got this week in auto history, and we'll get you caught up on the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us today on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Also joining us right now is Patrick Olson with Carfax. Patrick, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We always love to talk to Carfax. And how's business?
Business for us is good. There's a lot of people out there looking for cars, and we're trying to help them make sure they get the right car. One of the new things we've added, to be honest, is we actually added new car listings to our site. So
new
not
car
only
listings.
will you find
Wow.
used cars at our site,
wow,
you can get new cars there too.
Well, I had no clue. So what's up with that? I mean, do they steer you to a dealer?
Yeah, that's how all of our listings work, right? New and used. But we know that, almost 2/3 of shoppers are considering both. And so we felt we were not helping out by not having new car listings. So now we've added new car listings to our mix.
Huh. Interesting. So how does that work? Okay, so let's just say, for instance, that I'm in the market for a GMC Sierra Denali.
Yep.
Okay, so what do I do? Type in that, and then
just go to the Carfax.com page like you normally would, put in the vehicle you're looking for, and there's just a little button that says new. And so click new, and we will show you all the new Sierras within, anywhere from 50 miles of your zip code to nationwide, depending on how unicorny you're looking for your truck.
Can you drill it down? Can you make it unicorny?
You can, although for new, we have fewer tools than we do for used, right? For used, we can help you identify one-owner vehicles or no-accident vehicles. For new, they're pretty much all the same. But, we can say, does it have Apple CarPlay? Does it have, a towing package? Whatever it is that you're looking for, there are some filters on there to help you find the unicorn.
So are you able to track, say Mike goes out and buys a new Sierra Denali, and he goes through Carfax, so you've got that logged in somewhere, you've got that data placed somewhere. Now, can you follow that vehicle through Mike's ownership and then down to the next one by that
Absolutely.
VIN?
So what we follow is when that car gets registered, we'll be notified. We'll make note of that. If it goes through a safety inspection, depending on which oil change shop he takes it to, we'll track that as well. And so we will see all of the touch points that Mike's truck goes through over its life, including onto the next owner or third or fourth or what have you.
But you have to take your truck to a place that actually reports that to Carfax, correct?
That's absolutely right. And if you're one of those people who changes their own oil, we're not tracking that on the vehicle history report. However, we do have a way that if you change your own oil, you can upload a receipt of the oil you bought into the Carfax Car Care app so that you can show the next potential buyer, hey, I did the work, here are the receipts for it. I'll store it right in your app.
So if I go to someplace, a change shop to have my oil changed, is there a way for me to find out which shops participate? Because to me, that Carfax report's going to add value when I get ready to sell my vehicle.
That's absolutely right. So a car with well-documented service history over time, we estimate it's worth about $2,000 more than one that isn't. So you can look at the shop and see if they say they're Carfax affiliated, then you can be sure they're going to take it there. You can ask the person doing the work, are you going to report this to Carfax? And again, if they don't, you can still upload your receipt into the Carfax Car Care app so that you've got a record for the next potential buyer.
So this is registered by vehicle, not by dealerships.
This is all by VIN, right? This is all by vehicle identification number, not by who's selling. So you could buy from someone who doesn't work with Carfax at all, and we would still track that information in an effort to help whoever the next buyer is understand what your truck has gone through.
Yeah, but the majority of the dealerships I see nowadays are registered somehow or affiliated somehow with the Carfax organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we definitely have a wide reach.
How does that work with let's say, a car dealership? Do they pay you a fee to register themselves to be able to input that information?
So the way it works is on a couple different levels. So one, the first level is there are a lot of dealerships we work with where they buy a subscription to look at vehicle history reports, right?
Yeah,
so every time they see cars coming through the auction, they want to know, was there an accident? How bad was the accident? Where was the accident? Is there signs of odometer tampering? Are there signs of flooding? So that is their first interaction with us, is buying these reports to make sure that they're not buying a car that they're going to be stuck with later. Secondly, a lot of them pay us to run their listings on our site. We're very good at search engine optimization, and we will often be one of the top 1, 2, or 3 results when someone searches for find me a Sierra Denali in Houston. And so a dealer finds that a lot more cost effective than trying to run their own website and trying to fight the SEO wars with AutoTrader or Cars.com, KBB, what have you.
Let me expand on that just a minute and throw this wrench into the works. Vroom had a very large presence here in the Houston area. I think it was Texas Auto Direct, if I'm not mistaken. I think that they own that dealership. They must have had 3,000 cars on the lot.
Quite a few.
So what happens when a company like Vroom goes out of business? What happens to those cars? How do you continue to keep track of all those cars that they assume have registered with Carfax?
Well, presumably all of those cars, the whatever holding company is left of Vroom when it's done will be unloading those cars, right? They need to pay off whatever debts they've got,
yes,
and whatever led them to close in the first place. So they'll get retitled by somebody, and every time they get retitled, we'll know. We work with all the DMVs and all the states to make sure that we're aware of that.
Just a short note on that. I went by that dealership probably 4 or 5 days after that announcement, and it was pretty cleaned up. There was probably maybe 200 cars left on that, and a lot of the car carriers, the big long ones that hold 7, 8, 9 cars, they were all lined up, ready to load up and go. But they were cleaning it up pretty quick.
That was an old AutoNation dealership when AutoNation was in business, and it was a huge, huge lot. And they had a prep area, a huge garage where they prepped all the cars. It was impressive back when it was AutoNation.
I started with AutoNation at that dealership. There was a recon center behind it, and the service center was state-of-the-art back in the time. But it was fun. It was a lot of interesting things and a good concept at the time.
Yeah, and to have a big dealership like that go out of business, and the cars that I saw on the lot, they were probably 3, maybe 5 years old, but they were premier, pretty good looking cars.
Yeah, the used car market has been, over the last year had pretty high prices. So I can imagine, dealership like Vroom would want to target the cars you're going to get the best return on. The good news for shoppers, though, is used car prices are coming down. We track those month over month, and in January they dropped about anywhere from $500 on average to $1,000 on average from the month before. So we definitely think it's getting to be a better time to buy a used car.
Do you think that trend will continue?
I do, because right now, new car inventory on lots across the country are at a 3-year high. And so that is meaning that automakers are returning to doing low interest rate financing, cash rebates, that kind of thing. And as new car prices come down, that inevitably puts pressure on used car prices to go down, because you have a choice between a new Honda Accord at 0.9% and a used Accord at 7 or 8%, which is around the current used car rates. You might be tempted to get the new one instead. So dealers need to compensate for that by lowering their used car prices.
Okay, let's talk about EVs. Do we dare even talk about EVs? Because it seems to be a hot topic these days.
Touchy.
Except in Chicago, where it was so cold they couldn't get them charged.
Yeah, we heard about that. Yeah.
I love EVs. I got to tell you, I think the issue with EVs right now is twofold. One is just owner lack of knowledge about how they work and what you have to make sure you do. And secondly, the infrastructure for charging in this country is really poor. And if we're going to have mass adoption, we're going to have a lot more and a lot better chargers out there for people to use.
Yeah. Well, and what do you think about pricing? I mean, typically an EV, for the most part, and I'm just going to use Tesla as the benchmark here, and not maybe perhaps Hyundai or something like that, but a more upscale model of an EV. Do people trade them in the same way that they would an ICE car, where the ICE car may have 35, 45,000 miles on it? Do you see that the mileage is greater on an electric vehicle?
To be honest, I haven't studied a lot. Actually, my expectation is kind of the opposite. Because EVs need to recharge frequently, I kind of expect EVs to have fewer miles on the car than an ICE car, because it's harder, frankly, and takes longer to recharge them. So I think those drivers are being more selective about how and when they drive them. I think in a lot of cases, it's a second car in a family.
Interesting.
And grocery getter.
Yeah, and I work with a guy that has a Tesla. It's now a couple of years old. His wife has the gasoline engine, and he's got the Tesla, the electric. And there are occasions that he has now discovered, after living with this thing for a couple of years, that there are issues when it comes to finding a charging spot. He regularly goes back and forth to San Antonio, and that's probably at the outside edge of the Tesla's range.
Right.
So he does make a stop before he gets to San Antonio from Houston to recharge it for 30 minutes. Well, that's 30 minutes in my estimation, that I could narrow that down to 25 minutes, or I'm sorry, for 5 minutes if I went and got gasoline in the thing. And I think that more and more people are discovering this. Do you agree?
I do. I absolutely do. And I think the people, for example, in Chicago had the issues. They didn't realize that you need the battery to be warmed up to a certain level before that battery will accept a charge. And so their battery had run pretty far down. It was too cold to accept a very strong charge. And so a lot of the cars died while waiting to get to a charger because there was a long line. And Chicago's a little different because a lot of those EV owners live in apartments. Like, for example, I put in a EV charger in my garage because I get test cars every week, and about half of them these days are EVs. I want to make sure I can charge it. But without having your own charger, now you're reliant on the chargers of the world. And I think, to me, plug-in hybrids, once they become cost, what's the word I'm looking for, equivalent to ICE cars, could be the wave of the future. But right now, they're $3,000 to $5,000 more than the equivalent ICE car. And I think that is what is keeping them out of consumers' hand. But the idea of, I could charge it for the 40 miles I commute every day and never pay for gas during the work week, but then I can fill it with gas when I want to go to grandma's for Thanksgiving or go on a summer trip or what have you.
Well, I understand that both Ford and GM are going, let's put the brakes on the full EV thing for a moment, and let's go back to the hybrid thing. Yeah. And they're going to start building some hybrids because apparently they feel that that's the way to go. What do you think about that?
Well, I think there are a lot of consumers out there who are very afraid of being stranded. And frankly, the news out of Chicago did not allay those concerns. And I think Toyota is, in a quiet way, saying, I told you so. They did not run pell-mell towards EVs. And, their Prius and their hybrid powertrain has been phenomenal now for about 20 years. And there are still first-generation Priuses chugging around out there, 300, 400,000 miles. So I think hybrids are a great alternative. I'm driving a Hyundai Elantra this week that's a hybrid. You get something like 50 miles per gallon. That's a great commuting car. It starts at like $24,000, gets 50 miles plus gallon to the gallon. It's got all the features I would want in it, other than the base level does not have a powered driver's seat, which I would have to have. I'm 6'1", my wife is 4'11". There's no way we're manually switching back and forth in that car.
Yeah, well, that memory seat comes in handy with that kind of a disparity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I assume that you are in Chicago.
No, I'm actually in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay, all right. Because I was going to ask you, are you going to go to the Chicago Auto Show?
I used to be in Chicago for like 25 years, and I used to go every year, but sadly I missed it this year.
Yeah, well, I think it opens to the public actually today.
Yes.
And I know that this past week they had press days over there, just trying to get a feel with the car show there as far as Stellantis being not involved in it. The same thing that we just went through here in Houston, and that leaves up I really have second thoughts about that. I cannot imagine an automaker like the size of Stellantis not having a display or some sort of involvement in car shows the size of Houston or Chicago.
No, I agree. And, they've got big brands like Ram and Jeep that do, relatively well for them. I think Stellantis has to figure out who they want to be. Their CEO, back when they were Fiat Chrysler, really increased the number of brands they brought to this country. They brought back Fiat. They, amped up Maserati and a couple other brands here. Now, Chrysler has literally one nameplate, and Dodge, I think, has three, and Fiat has one in this country. And at some point, I think there needs to be a culling of the brands for Stellantis to focus on what really matters. And no one wants to see Dodge or Chrysler or Fiat go away necessarily, but there comes a point where it's not sustainable.
Well, I'm sure that you saw the news this week that there's rumor that maybe perhaps Peugeot may be buying Stellantis. Did you see that?
I did see that. And in some ways, I think it makes a lot of sense globally. But again, only if they get rid of some of these poor performing nameplates.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, well, back to Carfax. We got a little sidetracked there, but yeah. I didn't realize the depth of your knowledge when it comes to the new car market, and that's an exciting thing that you guys are doing. Are you competitive? I assume that you are showing. What are you showing the actual window sticker of these vehicles, or how does the deal work once you go to Carfax and say, oh, well, that's the car that I'm looking for, and it's right down about 10 miles from my house? How does that play out?
So you're exactly right. In many cases, not all, but in many cases, we do have the window sticker for the car already on the site. And it just works the way it works with any other sort of third-party site. In terms of new cars, the dealer pays us a subscription fee, and we list all of their cars on our site. And then, when people say, help me find a Sierra in Houston, they're going to come back and see Carfax as one of the top places for it. I can tell you that we are already over 1 million listings nationwide on the site. So we have definitely ramped up in a hurry.
So you could probably find something in there.
One or two.
Listen, if you need to advertise, you got your old friends here in the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show, so just let us know.
Yeah, I will keep you in mind for sure. If they ever put me in charge of advertising, you'll be my first call.
I will. We appreciate that. Well, it's always good to talk to you. Carfax is the way to go. You can find out about now new cars as well as used cars. And I want to know if that car that I'm looking at that looks really good, that is wrecked or not. I want to know. I want to know the service history of it. I want to know if there's any warranty left on it, and you guys can help me out with all that.
Or a recall.
Absolutely. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because accident and ownership are really 1 and 2 of what used car shoppers want to know when they're buying. People always think it's price, and it's not. Because they want to know, what is in that history that's going to bite me.
Patrick, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's talk again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Patrick Olson with Carfax.
That is so cool.
Yep. You're on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Thanks for riding with us today. Time now for This Week in Auto History. Mr. Mars has that.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I do. So a couple of things that we wanted to bring up here and show this week.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Did I catch you off guard?
Yep.
Yeah, we were expecting to go to a break there, but we're good.
We were.
Oh, we were, weren't we?
Yeah. So
you could have said that.
Well, no,
it's too late now. So one of the early things this week was when Henry Ford's Ford Motor Company took over the struggling Lincoln Motor Car Company. Now, the thing about this was Henry Leland was in a little bit of a bind with Lincoln, so Ford bought the entire company for $8 million at his closeout sale.
Wow.
So, also this week, Darrell Lee Waltrip was born.
Say it again.
Darrell Lee Waltrip?
Darrell Waltrip.
Yeah, Darrell
Lee.
Waltrip. I was trying to say it in my best Southern redneck voice.
Another marble in your mouth.
Yeah. So he became known as the premier stock car driver, a television broadcaster, analyst, author, and one of the things he did, he was the first NASCAR driver to surpass $10 million in career race winnings.
Wow.
Now, also this week, Simon Knudsen, Swedish, after graduating from MIT.
He went from Southern to Swedish.
Yeah, that's right. After graduating
just read the thing and listen, we can leave the accents out.
After graduating from MIT, he went to work for Pontiac. In his first 16 years, he worked at 106 different GM plants. Eventually became manager of GM, and started pushing Pontiac's participation
This is
in
Bunky
NASCAR.
Knudsen, right?
Yeah, Bunky.
Yeah. Bunky.
Bunky. He just couldn't say Knudsen.
Yeah, that was it. I watched the Muppets and tried to mimic it, but it didn't work.
Oh, my God, Mars.
So that's where we got the Pontiac Bonneville and some other cars like that. Oldsmobile became a much more performance-oriented brand under his direction. He also, when he became general manager of Chevrolet, he also became started pushing the performance models such as the Super Sport and pushed the Chevrolet Chevelle in 1964 was the first Chevrolet's muscle car that came out. Now, in 1804, John Deere, there was really a John Deere was born up in Vermont. And his claim to fame, he started his company with building wrought iron plows that created a massive change in the farming industry. And soon as he died in 18...
Did you read this ahead of time?
Yeah, but I'm cutting out some of it because I'm running behind. Yeah. He died in 1886, but it was 40 years after he died before there was actually a John Deere tractor. So he never was involved in the actual John Deere tractor. Then James Dean, born this week in 1931, known as a race car driver. He loved racing. He was filming the movie Giant. The movie company would not let him go racing, so as soon as he finished filming that, he headed for the track. Age 24, he was killed behind the wheel of his new Porsche 550 on the way to a racetrack. Interesting thing I found, George Barris bought that car after the wreck, sent it out on tour. He was shipping it back from Florida in a sealed train car. When it got back there, he opened the train car. The car was gone. Nobody knows what happened to the car.
Yeah, there's a lot of spooky stuff involved in that car.
There's a lot of, they think it's cursed. A lot of people died.
Everybody that touched it died.
Different story. And then finally, we have Carmen Miranda was born this week in Portugal. She started her life as a hat maker, became a singer in Brazil, and finally came up to the United States with her famous hat. 46 years old when she died of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
It was all the weight on her head.
Yes. That was this week in automotive history.
All right. Thank you very much. You're on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Thanks for riding with us. We've got more of the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show coming your way after a very quick break. As soon as we get it all.
As soon as we get it together.
I'm sorry. I messed it all up.
You're good. You're all right.
But nobody stopped me, so they just let me go ahead and mess it up.
We just got to load it. That's all.
Okay. You ready now?
Sure.
No. Are you really sure?
No, I am sure. Right now, do it.
All right.
Do it.
Is it?
Yep. Nope.
Okay, here we go.
Pro-Am Auto Accessories has been serving Houston's auto enthusiasts since 1984, providing world-class products for sports cars, European sedans, and American muscle. Pro-Am is known as the place to go to find exclusive and hard-to-find parts and accessories. Pro-Am is one of the very first distributors in the USA for brands such as Recaro, Redline, Momo, Corbo, and Simpson. Located in the heart of Houston's premier retail and service corridor, the Galleria area, Pro-Am's walk-in storefront includes an 8,000-square-foot warehouse, showroom, and installation bays. Pro-Am not only sells parts and accessories, but also offers installation and service. Pro-Am is now reaching a worldwide audience through Pro-Am.com, taking its local reputation to the rest of the world. At Pro-Am Auto, you'll be dealing with a small group of professionals who truly want to help you with your automotive needs. If you don't see what you're looking for on the website, call and Pro-Am will lend you a hand. Pro-Am Auto, 6125 Richmond at Green Ridge in Houston's Galleria area. Call them at 713-781-7755. Want to feel good about something special you did for someone special? In-Wheel Time and the original Lupi Tortilla group of Tex-Mex restaurants have joined together to help a very worthy cause, God's Garage, a Christian-based 501c3 charity. We know there are lots of places and organizations out there where you can donate a car, truck, or SUV, but we're asking you, our car enthusiast family, to consider donating to God's Garage. Visit godsgarage.org and learn about its mission, the women that have been helped, how each one is screened, and about their Restore You program. A car donation is an easy way to make a difference in the lives of others. God's Garage needs good operating vehicles, but will take all types in working and non-working condition. Make your heart and soul feel good by donating your gently used vehicle and help support single mothers, widows, and wives of deployed military at godsgarage.org.
Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. And podcasts are available from your favorite podcast provider. Just wanted to throw that out there at you. By the way, there are a couple of recalls to tell you about today. Glass panels may detach on the Nissan Murano for 2024. You don't want that to happen. And on the Kia EV6 and the Niro EV for 23 and 24 model years, loss of drive power from a faulty drive shaft. Oh my God. I guess the drive shaft just comes loose and away she goes. That's all I can think.
Nice.
American Honda Motor Company recalling more than 750,000 U.S. vehicles due to an airbag that may deploy unintentionally during a crash. Front passenger seat weight sensor may crack and short circuit, failing to suppress the airbag as intended, according to NHTSA. Recall includes certain Honda Pilots, Accords, and Civic sedans made between 2020 and 2022, and some Honda CR-V and Passport vehicles manufactured between 2020 and 2021. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg on Monday said human drivers must pay attention at all times after videos emerged of people driving Teslas while wearing what appeared to be Apple's recently released Vision Pro headset.
Yeah, I saw that. Amazing.
Buttigieg responded on X to a video that had more than 24 million views of a Tesla driver who appeared to be gesturing with his hands to manipulate a virtual reality field. Apple's Vision Pro was released last week and blends three-dimensional digital content with a view of the outside world. Apple, which says people should never use it while operating a moving vehicle, did not immediately respond to a request for comment by our dear friends at Automotive News. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? Really? Why would you do something like that?
Because you're that kind of person.
You're that
fool.
kind of person. Yes,
that's pretty stupid.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But it's you'd have to be that kind of a person to understand how cool it is. It's like looking through a camera, looking through a camera like a 35 millimeter camera. It's got a whole different perspective on the world.
Yeah,
kaleidoscope.
I can only imagine. I mean, I'm getting close to that car. I might as well put the brakes on. I've run into the car. Mm-hmm. Kind of that kind of a thing.
I wonder if it has little stars and things like that come up on the screen as part of the bang.
After you hit your head, you can see the stars.
I'm sure that there's somebody that could be able to tell us, but we really care, to be honest with you.
You're right.
All right, time now for a quick break. We'll be right back. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is streaming and podcasting. Look for us on your favorite podcast provider.
The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggieland? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.